Good morning, and thank you for joining me for this week's Sunday School Storytime with Susanna. This summer, all of the Sunday School Storytimes are going to be focusing on the idea of communities. So what is a community? We're going to answer that question in more detail in a couple of weeks, but very briefly, communities are groups of people who have something in common. Like you have a school community. At First Presbyterian, we have a church community. You might have a community in your neighborhood. We can also say that there's a Rochester community. We all have something in common that we all live in this city. And there are all different types of communities all over the world. So that's what we're going to be talking about this summer, the idea of communities. And each week we'll have a different focus. This week's focus is communities living together. Now, when you live with other people, there are rules, right? They might not always be written down rules, but there are rules about how you should behave, what you should do, and what you shouldn't do. Maybe there are rules about when you need to go to bed, or things that you can do at certain times. Maybe there are rules about things that you can't do unless you do other things first. Living together means we have all different kinds of rules. Today, we're going to learn about a very special rule that Jesus gave to us. It's called the Golden Rule. Today's Bible lesson is from Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Today I'll be reading both from the Deep Blue Bible Storybook and from the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible, the Golden Rule. Jesus continued to teach the crowd on the mountainside. He told the people a very special rule. The rule is so special, we call it the Golden Rule. This is what Jesus said. In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. For this is the law and the prophets. That means if we want people to be kind to us, we need to be kind to other people. So to discuss the Golden Rule, we have a very special guest with us. We have Dr. Jake Wright, who teaches philosophy at the University of Minnesota, Rochester. So could you explain the Golden Rule to us? Why did Jesus share this specific rule with us?
So this is a really important rule. So a lot of times you'll hear the Golden Rule as do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Or another way you can think about it is treat other people the way that you would like to be treated. And this is a really important rule for being a good person because it can be very easy to be selfish, saying that I think that other people are important.
So this week we're talking about communities living together. Mm-hmm. How does the Golden Rule fit into that?
Well, sometimes it can be really hard to live with people. You might know this if you live with your family and you have younger brothers or younger sisters or older brothers or older sisters, and sometimes you don't always get along. You can say, well, I live with a bunch of other people in my family or in my city or in my state or in my country or in the world. You want to treat them with respect, and so what I can do to make sure that I do that is to ask myself, well, what would I want people to do? I would want people to be kind to me, or I would want people to help me. And if that's what I would want people to do for me, then that's what I should do for other people.
Okay, so just like we have different rules for living in a house with somebody, about maybe rules about what you can and can't do, this just fits into that and is kind of the main rule of treat other people how you want to be treated.
That's a good way to think about it, yeah.
Thank you. So, how can we apply the Golden Rule to life today?
Well, one way that I think about applying the Golden Rule to life today is I think about all of the protests that are going on. Well, why are these protests happening? And these protests are happening, and protests happen all the time because people think that the Golden Rule isn't being followed. The way that we can make sure that people follow the Golden Rule is by protesting and making our voices be heard. It's sort of like if you have a little baby brother, for example, and your baby brother is hungry, he might say something like, I'm hungry or I need a bottle. But if your mom and dad don't hear him, then he might start crying or he might start screaming, not because he's being bad, not because he's a bad baby or anything like that, but because he needs to do a little bit more for his needs to be met. And so if you think about the protests that are going on right now, for example, what's happening, I think, is people are saying, it's very important that you follow the golden rule, and we think that you're not following the golden rule, and we want you to pay attention so that you will follow the golden rule.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been very insightful.
Thank you.
So thinking back to what Dr. Wright said and thinking about the golden rule, being true to the golden rule means that you have to actually do things. It's not just good enough to not do bad things, but you also need to do good things. Like Jesus said, do unto others, right? So you have to consciously make an effort and you have to do actions to be good to other people. You can't just not do bad things. You also have to do good things. One of the most difficult things about the golden rule is that it doesn't say when we should do this, which basically means that we always need to be following the golden rule. We always need to do unto others as we want them to do unto us. We always need to treat others as we want to be treated. Which means even when we're mad or upset, even when we don't like somebody, even when we disagree with somebody, we still need to treat them as we want to be treated. Which means we need to be kind with our words and actions. We need to show them respect. So I think it's important to remember that we always need to follow the golden rule, even when we disagree with somebody. This week, try to focus on kindness and make sure that you're showing other people the same kindness that you would like to receive from them. For this week's craft idea, we are making golden rule caterpillars. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some pieces of paper. It's probably best if you use cardstock, a little bit thicker paper, just because it'll hold up better. But if you have construction paper, that's fine too. You can use any colors you like. I just happened to find paper in different colors, so I made a rainbow pattern, which actually looks kind of cool. But if you just have one color paper, or if you want to use white paper and then color it yourself, that is totally fine. What you're going to do is you're going to cut 6 circles. And I made my circles a little bit bigger. You don't have to make them this big. So once you have your circles all cut out, you're going to glue them together. So the first circle is going to be your head, and then you're going to place each circle with a little bit of overlap over the next and then glue it on. This first circle, like I said, is the head. So I attached a pipe cleaner at the top. I did a hole punch in the top and I put a pipe cleaner for the antenna. I drew a caterpillar face. You could do whatever you want if you have googly eyes at home or however you want to do this. And then on each of the next 4 circles, I wrote part of the golden rule. In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. You could write anything you want on here, any different forms of the golden rule. If you want to write treat others as you want to be treated, you could do that. And then on the last circle, I wrote Matthew 7:12, the golden rule. Then you're going to want to decide how you want to display it, because this is to help us remember to follow the golden rule. So when we see this, it'll be a reminder to us. It'll make us think, have I been treating others how I want to be treated? So I made 2 holes and I attached some string so I can hang this up in my room where I'll see it every day. So maybe you want to make this into a magnet. This might be a big magnet, so you might want to make smaller circles if you're going to turn it into a magnet. But if you have some magnets at home, you can put them on the back and put it on the fridge so you'll see it every day and it'll be a reminder to follow the golden rule. But once you make this, figure out how you want to display it, how you want to hang it up or put it somewhere where you can see it every day and remind yourself to follow the golden rule. Please join me in a word of prayer. Dear God, please forgive us for all of those times when we don't do unto others as we would have them do unto us. Forgive us when we are mean in our words and actions. Forgive us when we are selfish and don't think of other people. Please continue to guide us in doing unto others as we want them to do unto us, in treating others as we want to be treated. Please keep our minds and hearts open to show other people love, kindness, and respect, even if we disagree with them, even if we don't like them, even if they are so very different from us. God, we ask you to be with all of us this week until we join together again in your name. Amen. Thank you for joining me for this week's Sunday School Storytime with Susanna. Have a blessed week.